Hello, I think this is part 16 of Collected Fables by James Thurber. We're starting with The Wolf at the Door. Sequel. Mr. and Mrs. Sheep were sitting in their sitting room with their daughter, who was as pretty as she was edible. And there was a knock at the front door. It was a gentleman caller, said the daughter. It's the Fuller Brush Man, said the mother, and the cautious father got up and looked out the window. It's the wolf, he said. I can see his tail. Don't be silly, said the mother. It's the Fuller Brush Man, and that's his brush. And she went to the door and opened it, and the wolf came in and ran away with the daughter. You were right after all, admitted the mother, sheepishly. Moral. Mother doesn't always know best. The italics are father's and daughter's and mine. Don't know if I can. What happened to Charles? A farm horse named Charles was led to town one day by his owner to be shod. He would have been shod and brought back home without incident if it hadn't been for Eva, a duck who was always hanging around the kitchen door at the farmhouse. Eavesdropping never got anything quite right. Her farm mates of her that she had 2 miles but only one eat. On the day that Charles was led away to the smithy, Eva went quacking about the farm, excitedly telling the other animals that Charles had been taken to town to be shot. They're executing an innocent horse, cried Eva. He's a hero. He's a martyr. He died to make us free. He was the greatest horse in the world, sobbed a sentimental hen. He just seemed like Charlie to me, said a realistic cow. Let's not get too into a moony mood. He was wonderful, cried a gullible goose. What did he ever do? Asked a goat. Eva, who was inventive as she was inaccurate, turned on her lively imagination. It was butchers who let him off. To be shot, she shrieked. They would have cut our throats while we slept if we hadn't been for Charles. I didn't see any butchers, and I can see a burnt-out free fly on a moonless night, said a barn owl. I didn't hear any butchers, and I can hear a mouse walk across moss. We must build a memorial to Charles the Great, who saved our lives, quacked Eva. And all the birds and beasts in the barnyard except the wise owl, the skeptical goat, and the realistic cow set about building a memorial. Just then, the farmer appeared in the lane, leading Charles, whose new shoes glinted in the sunlight. It was lucky that Charles was not alone, for the memorial builders might have set upon him with the jabs. My goodness, I'm so bad at reading tonight. I apologize. Let me get some more light. It was lucky that Charles was not alone, for the memorial builders might have set upon him with the clubs and stones for replacing their hero with just a plain old Charlie. It was lucky, too, that they could not reach the barn owl, who quickly perched upon the weather vine of the barn, for none is so exasperating as he who is right. The sentimental hen and the gullible goose were the ones who finally called attention to the true culprit, Eva, the one-eared duck with 2 mouths. The others set upon her, and tarred and unfeathered her for none more unpopular than the bearer of sad tidings that turn out to be false. Moral: get it right or let it alone. The conclusion you jump to may be your own. That's smart. The daws on the dial. A young jackdaw told his father that he was going to build a nest on the minute hand of a town clock. "That's the most unthinkable thing you ever thought of," said old John Daw. Young Jack was not deterred. "He'll build our nest within a minute hand is level," he said, "at a quarter of or a quarter after. Those who live in castles in the air have nowhere to go but down," the old Daw warned. But Jack and his mate built their nest on the clock at a quarter after 8, and next morning, at 20 minutes after 8, the next slipped off and the minute hand and fell into a street below. "We didn't start early enough," the young Daw told his father that evening. "Better never than late. We'll try again tomorrow at a quarter after 6. "If at first you don't succeed, fail again," said the elder Daw. But he might as well have been talking to a gargoyle. Jack and his mate stole some of the elder Daw's silverware and built their nest again the following morning. And again it slipped off the minute hand and fell into the street below. That evening, old John Daw had more to say of his reckless offspring. To stick on a dial, you would need 3 feet, one of them of a rabbit's. Don't hang heavy at time's hands, just because it hangs heavy on yours. Clockwise is not wise enough. Even the cyclone and the merry-go-round know that much. And again, the young Daws did not listen. And again, they swiped some silverware from his parents' nest to furnish their own. This time, those human beings known as municipal authorities were concealed in the clock tower, and, with brooms and yells and stones and bells, they frightened the foolish Daws away from the clock and the tower and the town. That night, old John Daw's mate counted her silverware and sighed with dismay. "Gone, alas, with our youth, 2 spoons," she said, "and half the knives, and most of the forks, and all of the napkin rings. If I told him once, I told him 100 times. Neither a burglar nor a lender be," raged old John, but it might as well have been talking to a cast-iron lawn Daw. Not a word was heard from the young Daws as the weeks went on. "No news is bad news," grumbled old John Daw. "They have probably built their nest this time on a wagon wheel or inside a bell." He was wrong about that. The young Daws had built their last nest in the muzzle of a cannon, and they heard only the first gun of a 21-gun salute fired in honor of a visiting chief of state. Moral: the saddest words of pen or tongue are wisdoms wasted on the young. The tiger who would be king. One morning, the tiger woke up in the jungle and told his mate that he was king of beasts. "Leo the lion is king of beasts," she said. "We need a change," said the tiger. "The creatures are crying for a change." The tigress listened, but she could hear no crying except that of her cubs. "I'll be king of beasts by the time the moon rises," said the tiger. "It will be yellow moon with black stripes in my honor." "Oh, sure," said the tigress, as she went on to look after her young, one of whom, a male, very like his father, had got an imaginary thorn in his paw. The tiger prowled through the jungle till he came to the lion's den. "Come out," he roared, "and greet the king of beasts. The king is dead. Long live the king." Inside the den, the lioness woke her mate. "The king is here to see you," she said. "What king?" he inquired sleepily. "The king of beasts," she said. "I am the king of beasts," roared Leo, and he charged out of the den to defend his crown against the predator. It was a terrible fight, and it lasted until the setting of the sun. All the animals of the jungle joined in, some taking the side of the tiger, and others the side of the lion. Every creature, from the aardvark to the zebra, took part in the struggle to overthrow the lion or to repulse the tiger, and some did not know which they were fighting for, and some fought for both, and some fought whoever was nearest, and some fought for the sake of fighting. "What are we fighting for?" someone asked the aardvark. "The old order," said the aardvark. "What are we dying for?" someone asked the zebra. "The new order," said the zebra. When the moon rose, fevered and gibbous, it shone upon the jungle in which nothing stirred except a macaw and a cockatoo screaming in horror. All the beasts were dead, except the tiger, and his days were numbered, and his time was ticking away. He was monarch of all he surveyed, but it didn't seem to mean anything. Moral: you can't very well be king of beasts if there aren't any. That will be our last story for tonight. Sleep well.